Okay, in this next set of videos we're going to take a look at the actual payment options. So the user will open the till, which will bring up the till. They'll select the items that they want, and then they'll press the pay button, and the pay button is going to bring up this form here, which is a dialog, which means I can't click anywhere until I've entered the value. And they have to choose how much they want to pay. So you can see here the total is £10, so they can choose maybe just to pay £1 here, and you can see the total reduces, and hopefully they'll clear the final amount. So let's put, say, a tenner in here, and I'll press OK. That's going to calculate the change to give, and then it's going to open up the print. Now the key thing with this is, when that event has happened, we get taken back to this form here, and we need some sort of confirmation that the sort of transaction actually occurred. So the form payment amount has to send an event back to the coffee shop so that we know that, okay, we're ready to continue, we can clear the till down. So in this set of videos we're going to look at event handling and how we can make a custom event that this form can send its data back to its parent form. So let's take a look at what we're going to do first of all. Okay, so I've just created a new form. I've just given it the name payment here, just to save some time. And what you'll need to do is just put a couple of labels, a couple of text boxes, and a button. So I'm just going to quickly skip through that. Okay, so I've got the basic form put together here. Now we're going to have to put some code into this. So the first thing I'm going to do is right click and view code. Now one of the things I'm going to need to pass this form is the amount to display. So we're going to need to set ourselves a private variable just to hold this in. So what I'm going to do is just call that one payment. Oops. I need it to be decimal. Payment amount. And then I'm just going to encapsulate that again. So encapsulate field. Remember, you can just type this in if you haven't got that option. So now I've got my payment amount there. So the user, when they create a version of this form, can pass it a payment amount. And the nice thing about that is, when they do pass a payment amount in here, you might as well just set the text box that stores that. So text box payment amount dot text equals, and let's just do a string dot format, same syntax as before, and what we'll do is we will pass that the payment amount. So when we actually create an instance of this class, we can now just call the property payment amount, and that's just going to set that straight up there. So that's nice and straightforward. Now the next more difficult thing is to set up the event. Now the event is going to pass back a boolean value to say yes, the payment's been made, or no, the payment hasn't been made. So you have to follow a bit of a recipe for this. First thing you need to do is make a public delegate, and this basically just gives us a signature. So what I'm going to call this is payment made event. You can give this whatever you want. That's a name that you've given it there, and it needs to follow this signature, and it's going to be an object which is going to be a sender, and we're going to make something new called payment made event args. Now that is going to be our own special class that allows us to encapsulate that true or false value. So basically, if you notice, this little bit here is the standard signature for an event. So you'll see later on when we make another event that this just matches, a standard click. So what we're going to do next is we're going to actually create the event. So we need to again say public event and give the name of your class that you've just made here, so payment made event, and I'm just going to call mine payment made. So that's going to be the event that's now generated. So that's all looking good. Now I need to actually implement this bit of the class here, and to do that I'm going to create an inner class. So it just sits outside of the main class, but it's inside this major, always sits inside this namespace, but it's just basically inside the payment class. So what I'm going to do here is say public, and we're going to make it a class, and it's going to be payment made event args. Okay, so we've just made a new class, and in the same way as we usually do, we're going to make a property that can hold the boolean value. So first of all, start off with my private one. So private bool, let's just call that payment success, and let's just encapsulate that. Again, no different, you can just do this, just saves me time really. So nicely encapsulated so that we've got that ready to go. Okay, so pop that inside there. So hopefully, let's just check for any build errors, because I have a funny feeling we're going to have a couple. So let's just see what we've got going on there. We've got a couple of bracket errors. Let's just check what I've done here. You see the mistake is that I've just got the brackets here, so if I just get rid of those, let's just save that up, and let's just try and do a build of that. Yeah, so build succeeded, so that's looking good so far. And what I'm going to do, this little bit here, payment made event args, it needs to extend a class. So if you remember back to inheritance and object-oriented programming, what we want to do is just extend this, and we're going to extend the usual event args because it needs to inherit all of the usual properties of that. So we've just customized this with our own variable there. So that's nicely set up now. So the last thing to do is we've got our event, but what we actually need to do is use it somehow. So when we press the click button, what we want to happen here is we want to generate an event which is then going to generate another event to send back to the form. So what I'm going to do here is just say payment has been made, and this little function now, or this little method rather, is now going to generate our new custom event. So what we can do here, all we have to do is say event, so we give it our name. Look, so if we go and find it's called payment made, so payment made, and then we say what we wanted to do. Now it's expecting an object sender, so this is basically just this class, so it passes it back so we know who's called it. And then what we're going to do is make some new event args, so our own class that we just created there. So let's just pick that, and you can see I can then just pass into that our new payment has been made. So if you see, if we just have a look down here, you can see that we've got payment success. So hopefully we should be able to find that payment success. And it's not oh, hang on, we haven't made a new version of it. There we go. So now we should be able to pass in payment success brilliantly, and we're going to just say that's true. So the button's pressed and we generate a new event, and that new event there is going to pass back a payment success of true or false. So that's looking nice. We've got a couple, we've probably got a bracket error here. Oh, I can see what we've done. We've missed a curly brace. So we've got a curly brace there, and we should have one bracket there. So that should fix that problem. Let's just save that up. So hopefully what will happen now, someone press the button and then we're going to call that event. We've still got a bit of an error there. Let's just see, what have we got? Payment made. Payment made. I think it's just been, that's it, it's gone. So let's just try that. Let's give that a run, check that we're okay. That's succeeded, so we know that that's working just fine. So now we've done that, we'll have a look at how we actually utilize that event. And see how we can pass back and forward between the forms. Okay, to see our event in action, what we're going to do is just going to go and get the design view of our coffee shop point of sale, and what we're going to do is we're going to go and add an event to our click. So we're just going to say payment there, just give it a name, so payment, or let's say open payment. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new instance of our payment. So we're going to say payment payment equals new payment, And what we're going to do then is just show that. So payment.show. Now the key thing here is we want to be able to get the event, so we want to wait for something to happen on that form, then give us that event back. So you should be able to now, if you press the dot, you should be able to hopefully find your custom events. So if we scroll down, have a look. So I think, what did we call our event? Let's just go and have a look what we called it. Can't remember what we said it was called. Payment made. So we should be able to find that from the list. So payment made. There we go. There's the custom event. It's got the little lightning bolt there. So we can add a handler. So plus equals, and now we can handle that event. And the nice thing is here, there are our custom events E. So in here, I'm just going to display a message box now, just to show you how this works. And I can just go E dot, and there's our special property that we made, payment success. So I could just pop that in there. So if the payment was successful, this is now going to say true. If it wasn't, it's going to say false. So if you just run that through, let's hope we've got no bugs. Open the till, press the pay button, up pops our payment form. You can wait a bit now, but if we press the button, you can see that true appears. Likewise, if I go back into my payment here, I could have equally have said, instead of passing true here, false. And of course I can adjust this by code, so if I just play that again, you can see now, if I run it, press my pay button, payment made, it says false. So the good thing is here, I can now encapsulate all that up with a simple if statement, so I can say here, if something hasn't worked correctly, the payment will be false.